Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your mayor. It's Father's Day, so today I thought I'd help all the farmers that suffered, all the fathers that work hard to provide for the family and show what establishment was doing to steal, but they called themselves politicians. I want to elaborate before I begin any further. What you do not see now, is the Abbotsford's police department. These great heroes that prop themselves up as they're going after gangs and they're here for the town and the whole thing under uniform. And that what they were doing in Abbotsford, they got families in Abbotsford. We go after gangs in Abbotsford. They had a story that is unbelievable, falsifying it under the Abbotsford police. What you do not see now, when I stand now in front of a development sign, when I showed what was taking place with all the developments and the stealing, the Abbotsford police know the cat was out of the bag. I told the RCMP I was going to leak it soon. They even couldn't figure out why the Abbotsford police were following me. Henry Brown knew he was going to get exposed and tied to political politicians David EBY, Pamela Alexis, Ed Fast, and Mike DeYoung into criminal investigations for covering attempted murder, threats, took in a public oath and swearing an oath and allowing inside corruption with council rigging and everything else. It would pull an establishment down unbelievable, bigger than Al Capone's ring. And they were lifting job sites through the city of Abbotsford with the majority of councils collaborating. That's why Keelan Olenoff told me to drop the video and the effing lawsuit that Henry had counsel in his house, up on Downs, or he would personally bury me. Henry had counsel in his house, the majority of council, to win the decision over the general public, which was collaborating. And Henry knew that when I was going to televise that, because he had Vicky Hopes in the Capriccia rag with Dave Sadu tied up, he'd get exposed. And it'd go to the RCMP, it'd go to the oppositions, it'd go everywhere. But these people operated under a business license called we're politicians. So if we're politicians, we can go in and steal the money from local taxpayers and the BC taxpayers and not have criminal investigations. I'm down on McCallum Road across from UFE. And I released a video that I showed you that Pam was working on all these deals like she did Dave Sadu's property and Andy Sadu's with Vitalis. And now one phones me and tells me, the Mackenzie Bog told me you called out me, but you didn't call out Manny Farms. You called out me, but you didn't call out Dave Sadu. That's what we want. We want that for the real authorities. So I'm on McCallum. I want you to look at that development sign. This development sign is theft out of the BC taxpayers that were embezzling money through the province and through Henry's mafia ring to get jobs to construction companies without tendering or the general public and not even justifying it. They were going to move the ag center out of the lower parts of Abbotsford, off of Blair Road there, and they were going to move it up here for $500 million across from UFE, and then up on the higher grounds. And they were going to push all the pumpkins and the cabbages and strawberries under, because this is a $500 million project. This will get everybody their money. It'll get maybe money out the back door, in my opinion, for David Eby. But what is missing is KORKY Neufeld. What is missing is my loser Brad Viss, my loser MP Brad Viss, that wants to come into other people's ridings like KORKY do and stand here and show Carney. KORKY should be showing Carney. I don't know why Brad Viss is coming into the Ottawa and crying to Carney for money for flood victims when we're moving a building. What makes no sense unless you're loading your back pockets, and David Eby probably wants his Lamborghini, his Ferrari, his caviar, his Learjet and everything else, and we're moving this when the building doesn't need to be moved, period. It doesn't need to be moved. It's not outdated. It never suffered in the flood, and we put new pumps in there, and if we did our due diligence, it was a scam. Now what under this scam, what we need is we do not need Mr. Pelican to become the mayor, because he'll block all the scams. And you can see that. So when a mayor calls an election, or council call an election, the people like the Chamber of Commerce, the DBA, And the newspaper usually has to start to interview them people and roll over to them people, because if they get elected, they can strip you of everything. It's kind of like political parties. If the N.D.P gets in and they found out that Henry was a supporter, which he is now, and that's well known, of Ian Black and Peter Mellibard, which were liberals but conservatives, and he probably told, in my opinion, David Eby, I went in there to split the party down so the BC Conservatives couldn't take you in. I was doing you a favor. And if they get in, they'll hand-struck you. They'll cuff your hands at giving your town any money. And when a mayor gets in, he'll get in and he'll wipe out the Abbotsford newspaper for being online with the city and having the city's exposures and the city's advertising and be done. So you could see the other councils and mayors, like myself, that I announced I'm running, not getting that exposure, because Vicky Hopes has already got it, that she'll block for Henry. She's got that press badge. Don't worry about that press badge. Amric Moran was hand-selected, and he was taken into the ledge for exposure over all the other councils and mayor, and I made that clear. That's why I asked Suki Dami to run for his South Asians on Dave Sidhu's council, Gurpreet Rai. I asked Bardi Sandhu, and I've asked many more people in the town. You have to stand up now, and we all got to come to the conclusion we need the RCMP. This mob was huge, but they called themselves politicians. And then they need Ross Siemens to stay as another term for this. And if you look on the development sign, who's bringing it? Ain't that a Mennonite company that's proposing that with Rob Isaac and everything else? We're going to shove this all on it. But this is a $500 million job. This one has lots of grease. I mean, you could slide. You could slide from here to Las Vegas on this grease. And they were going to hand-struck the $500 million instead of taking it to the farmers. So I want to make sure Carney sees this dirty backroom deal by the province and David Eby. So you know, and I know, and I'll make it clear, Abbotsford is a corrupt town, a very corrupt town. It was controlled by a very few. Henry was a mastermind, a train tycoon, and it'd be easy if you want to get money out of the B.C. taxpayers, dumped into the town and get it back out. Abbotsford's a prime example to do it. It's full of corruption. You saw Dave Sidhu's property. You saw the block in the election. You saw the task force threaten people. You saw him smash cameras so stuff didn't get out in the public. So it'd be easy to dump, as a premier, dump money into Abbotsford and have millions of dollars walk out. It'd be very easy with Henry Brown to do it, because Keelan Olenoff said Henry has millions of dollars up in his safe on Downs, and that's why I go there. So it'd be very easy. But this would make no sense, and it doesn't even justify it, when we got Brad Viss, the MP of the Conservatives on the world stage, trying to beat Carney up. And this shit's going on behind the back door. And we got a little coward of a mayor with Rob Isaac trying to put on flood mitigations. I told you on Tuesday night, the big one on Tuesday night of this coming week, this Tuesday night on the 23rd, the big flood mitigation is bigger than the UFC fight. And he's going to try to justify that. Under my mayorship, that's stopped. Under my mayorship, I would order the RCMP in to start criminal investigations, because this is land lifts and kickbacks to contractors. And there's no justification. And you don't take real high prime ag land in the higher levels, because the Abbotsford Valley was prone to flooding, and plow it under for a scam like this. So we got all this scam. We got $76 million and $77 million missing out of Barrowtown, and no criminal investigations. That's why we need the RCMP. It walked itself out. And that with $76 million, I showed you gravel in, graveled out, graveled in. You have to know now, and you have to go to your conclusions. David Eby is involved in that, because he's not ordering criminal investigations, and that $76 million is missing. You cannot haul sand in, haul it out, haul sand in, haul it out. That's kind of like, let me put it in layman's terms, hiring the maid to clean your house. She sweeps the dirt in front of you, and when you go out, she throws all the dirt back, and she justifies the wind on it. Then she sweeps it and down and hauls it till the money's virtually sucked out of the kitty. And this is what Jake's contract was doing. And this dirty ag minister went around and did this. But the prime example is the weak MLA. KORKY Neufeld knows this, and he wants to be in everybody's riding, and he can't justify this now, and he can't go after the opposition. So the BC Conservative leader, Caroline Finlay, has to be looking at not green lighting KORKY Newfield. All he cares about, please, anybody got Mr. Pelican's phone number? Tell Mr. Pelican to lay down and not mention my name too much till I can get shadow minister. Let me tell you something, KORKY, on the world stage as a father, because today's Father's Day. Henry Brown tried to end my life in broad daylight. He left the scene of work and came to where we were. He fled from the scene. He used Mike Sir, the top of the police chief, to cover it. When I went public, thanks to the RCMP, he used his friends, the newspaper, Vicky Hopes and Ken. He used the Chamber of Commerce, Greg Toast, to try to bribe me to stay out of the debate because he was only a selective few. Abbotsford City Council went around with Dave Sidhu, stole all my signs. Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu blocked at UFV, the grounds that I'm on. UFV apologized for that. They manned up. To load Ross Siemens, Sandy Blue went into the sports center where I was being host and said I grabbed her up the dress. She was hired to that filthy police board. Barty Sindhu and Rianne Gaspard, an elected MLA for the BC Conservatives, called it out with other councils that were running. And then Henry used the Abbotsford task force to circle my house. He used the Abbotsford men and women in uniform, not women, I'll justify that. Women never got caught, I made that clear, to come around and threaten me. He used them at my house. He's pulled me over hundreds of times to try to take my driver's license. So when I get the leads from the city, I don't come out of here because it was a mob. I knew way back then when I went to the RCMP around everybody's back. They didn't see it coming with the information. Darren Braun was millions of dollars to job lifts. And when the Premier is not stopping it and the Premier's dumping it in here, the Premier's getting money with his MLA. And if it's not the Premier, it's directly his MLAs getting their boots filled. And when I got a MP like Brad Viss trying to beat Carney down, and it laying right here, and I wanted Carney to see, look at this joke when he walks into Ottawa, Brad Viss, under Henry's orders and Ed Fast's order to push more on you about the money. You better start asking, why is David Eby given $500 million at UFV, move the Ag Center, which is unjustified, move it up on prime real estate for the farms, and we just paid money for the pumps. Where's the money in Barrowtown? Brad will be dumbstruck. He won't know what to do. He'll say, Mr. Speaker, can you wait till I get back to Abbotsford and I ask Ed Fast and Henry Brown to ghostwrite my story again of how to push on you financially? This is unjustified to my farmers. It's unjustified to all the flood victims. And it's really unjustified to BC taxpayers because it's a way of walking money out. So they got 40 acres. They paid $35 million for this 40 acres, $35 million. That's $870,000 an acre of farmland, way overpriced. They encompass the whole land. They don't list who sold it. And if you go on land titles, the city informers find out that you can't even find the history of it with the city or anything else. And it was an inside job to take $500 million out. So in my political experience, I would tell you this. David Eby is done. He is done. And he's completely hammered to the wall. He'll hang on to the party. And the reason he'll hang on to that party and he'll try to do what he's trying to do is so he can walk BC's taxpayers' money out the back door as a premier into these construction companies that don't make sense, and lifts like he did on Vitalis, and lifts to these jobs so when I'm out you look after me. We need the BC Conservatives now to stand up and say, when we reach leadership as your premier, we'll order investigations the same as Mr. Pelican is saying in Abbotsford with his residents to bring the RCMP in because they don't care about the premier. And that is the only reason you do this. And the city informants have already told me that they're working hard behind the scenes, all establishment. We gotta have that job to move that ag center. We gotta have it. And so when you got this much leverage, we have my Abbotsford police following me and smashing my camera, smashing my phone, threatening me, trying to run me off the road, and then up at Ledgeview when I was going to shoot the development permit, threatening me to pull over, and he was going to show me his gun and everything else because they bought police officers to go do it because just as I could tell you from the experience of Peter Wall Financial, Aquilini, Mike Dakota, You can't hide development signs. You cannot bring this behind the public's back. You cannot go up to Downs and sit in Henry's House as city councils and think you're the jury and rig the decisions. You cannot go around and do what you were doing to other candidates or people that are running, because it was a ring of corruption and it was about money. And Carney said it the best. Trace the money and you'll find the corruption. And if everywhere you go and look, no one can come and speak about it, but then you go and see what they got, like Dave Sidhu. Dave Sidhu lifted his dad's land and he used Vitalis. They had the inside information from Pamela Alexis a year in advance to go buy that piece of property. They would select that piece of property. They would give him the $30 million as a corporate handout. They'd take ag land, they'd push good crops under, and they would move a commercial business to ag land. They don't have the room for the trucks. They'll zone to the encompass 20,000 square feet to 60,000 feet on the ag land. And they'll move the topsoil and they'll do all this. They'll give a significant lift to Andy Sidhu. He moved out months and months in advance, built a new house on Huntington and McCallum. And his son and the mayor, his buddies, oh, they were buddies. If I was Ross's dad, I'd say, why don't you divorce your wife and move Dave Sidhu in, Ross, because you did more for him than you did for your family, and that's true. And then the family's got to live with all his embarrassment, and they moved all this, they jacked that all, and then they told Vitalis, if you move that commercial business to ag land, you pay less taxes. So the question now to KORKY Neufeld, you know that I'm headhunting to run one BC against you or any party because of what you done. You went into other ridings. You took Amrick Moran into the ledge. I'm going to ask you again, as mayor candidate of Abbotsford, I want you to apologize to all the councillors that are running for the unfair lift to Amrick Moran. I want you to call out that Amrick Moran's being chauffeured around town. He's being chauffeured all around town, and you could go look at it, KORKY, by the Chamber of Commerce, Alex Mitchell's, by the police chief everywhere, to get exposure off of all the other ones because you're rolling them over. This is who we need. And ordinary residents cannot stand up and run in here because you jeopardized the establishment. And then you need to apologize to David EBY for taking him in the ledge, because I told you if Gurpreet Rai wants to run, he's an N.D.P, and now he don't got a chance against Amrick Moran because everybody cheered him on over there, and everybody thinks the N.D.P and Conservatives are voting for him. And you need to apologize. And Amrick Moran needs to, as a man and as a lawyer, and he's a lawyer, so he knows that was wrong. He knew that taking advantage of that was wrong, and he should have asked it to be stricken from the things, and he's not. He's telling everybody to go around, look at the video when KORKY introduced him, and he's using that video on his web page too, where KORKY introduced him, for leverage to get that, which is unfair. And he's a lawyer, and he should be stripped by the bar from doing it. And it's unfair to all the politicians, but they went around town and said, these are the people that we selected in the establishment are going to run. So that's why I'm challenging everybody to stand up. But this needs to be front and center to my farmers. It needs to be front and center to Carney, and it needs to be front and center to people who dare say this is a backroom deal for David EBY to take $500 million out of the B.C. taxpayers, walk it into Abbotsford like he did on Barrowtown and Dave Sidhu's property of Vitalis, and walk it out the back door because he knows he's wrecked the N.D.P party. He knows that the other leaders coming in will say, okay, we got rid of him, but we won't investigate him. We need a strong leader that could say, as a BC Conservative, the leader, that when I'm in, David EBY's going under investigation for these job sites and these dumping grounds that he was dumping into these dirty mayors and into dirty councils. Now I'm live, KORKY Neufeld, here at UFB. I want you to come down. I want you to start being an MLA, and I want you to quit shadowing Amrick Moran around, and I want you to start to show why my farmers didn't get $500 million, why Brad Viss is in Ottawa crying, why Dave Sidhu's land got lifted with Andy Sidhu. Don't worry, KORKY. Dave Sidhu has probably warned you, in my opinion, if you mention my piece of property of my dad, I won't print you in the Capriccia newspaper. You see how I blocked other candidates and Mr. Pelican in the last one. You see how that worked out. we're going to go after you. And we're going to go after you one of the hardest. And we're going to go after you because I know we have to remove all the Abbotsford police. And you can see how scared they are. These boys screwed up. These boys were being ran by a mob, and there's no other way to put that. They were threatening people, and they covered up heinous acts, not just on me, the attempted murder, but it goes a lot deeper for this mob. And we need the best that helped Abbotsford, that encouraged Abbotsford, and that were there for Abbotsford, the RCMP. And we'll bring them in because they can go after your books, they can go after Mike Sir, they go after it all. And they'll go pick up Darren Brown and they'll say, cooperate, Darren Brown, and you'll be able to visit your kids out on the street. You don't, you're gone. I'm live, Abbotsford, British Columbia, UFE.